Okay, we're recording. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are here with Amanda Rassam and Roberto Martinez, the conscious couple, for a special presentation. This is Reignite the Fire, How to Live and Love Abundantly. Amanda and Roberto are the conscious couple. They're also good friends of ours, and they are part of our Avalon Torchbearer community. So they've trained with us. I'll tell you a little bit about them, and then I'm going to let you guys go into more detail and share more about yourselves, because I know you have that planned in the presentation.
Yeah.
But Amanda Rassam is an entrepreneur, a master coach, and practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. She shows women how to unapologetically express their most radiant self by living their authentic truth. Roberto is also an entrepreneur, master practitioner of NLP. He helps men have better sex and deeper intimacy with their partners. So in their own right, Amanda and Roberto do incredible, extraordinary work, really helping people get in touch with their truth. And together they are the conscious couple and helping couples work through things. And I think what was really important to us about getting this webinar sort of slotted in so that we could share it with people is, in quarantine, life is not necessarily like peachy for every couple living together in quarantine. So stuff is coming up. There's all kinds of unique challenges. I know Kelly and Ernie and myself witness you both because we're in close communication in our Torchbearer group. But we witness you both individually. We see how you work through things. We see you together. I think when it comes to looking at relationships and couples, the way that you amplify each other and support each other is absolutely magical. And I think it's something that that is just super important. And I know I can't wait to see what you've got planned for us. So I'm going to stop talking because I got a peek at this presentation, as did Kelly, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're going to let you guys take it from here.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Yeah. And I just want to give you three a shout out, and Ernie, because you guys have had such a positive impact in our lives, and we wouldn't be here without your leadership. So thank you all so much. And we're honored to be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So welcome, everybody. This is Reignite the Fire. We're really honored to be here and to share this with you. And do me a favor, raise your hand if you're ready to deepen the intimacy with your partner, with your relationships, and even yourself. Amazing.
And also raise your hand if you're ready to learn what's necessary to live an abundant life you love with your beloved partner.
Right here.
Beautiful.
My name is Roberto Martinez.
And I'm Amanda Rassam.
And together we are the conscious couple. And we first and foremost want to acknowledge everyone who showed up here today, because you're different than the norm, right? You don't have to put in time to learn on this webinar, but you decided to show up here today and invest in yourself. Yes. And that makes you a badass in our eyes. And we want to acknowledge that. Okay.
Yes.
Now, before we jump in, we're just going to quickly set the container for what this webinar is going to look like. Is that okay with you guys?
It's all right. Permission?
Amazing.
Beautiful. So we don't really have to worry about this. You're going to have your mic muted. We usually ask to have your camera on, but for now we're just going to ask that you just hang tight in there. And that ultimately just to show us signs of life, because since we can't see your face, just please continue to be engaged through the process. Either when we ask hey, raise your hand, whether you're doing that on your own or with the little raise hand function, just so we know that there are people watching and who are here with us, and to write down your questions in the chat. So as Kelly said, there's a chat function. There's also a Q&A function. We don't know if there's a huge difference with those, but we're going to be monitoring both. So for now, just write down your questions in the chat. And at the end, we are going to have a Q&A where we can answer your questions.
And if there's something that stands out in the presentation, then write it in the chat, because in order to make sure that the information sticks, when you write it down, you're way more likely going to remember it.
Yes.
And on top of that, someone else might inspire them to remember that as well.
Yeah.
Now, we also ask you guys to be a student. Show up today with an empty cup, because the 4 most dangerous words in the English language are...
I already know that.
I already know that, exactly.
Can you speak the English language?
Apparently not.
Okay.
So we ask you to be a student, show up with an empty cup, and be ready to learn. And do we have your permission to dive deep today? Yes or yes?
We don't just want to scratch the surface. We want to play it 100%.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the presentation, we're going to share a little bit about our story.
Yeah. So as aforementioned, we are the conscious couple, and this is a role that we've started to step into, and through the time in quarantine, actually, we already were operating in a way that we knew our relationship had certain qualities or factors that we knew were really, really important, and that we thought like there's a new standard of relationships that's emerging in our collective, and there needs to be leaders in this space, and we're kind of thinking like, well, shit, maybe we should be the leaders in that space. Yeah. So there was some resistance, of course, as there is with any big change stepping into it. We realized that the risk of not stepping into this space and leading through our hearts was a greater risk than not doing that. So we branded as the conscious couple, and we created this course, and it came through in a very beautiful, divine inspiration. We were like, we're not going to work today. We're going to just meditate. And within 10 minutes, we both entered the room and said, we have an idea and it needs to be birthed into creation. So such is this presentation. And we're really glad to have you on this call today.
Yeah. And here we are. And it's the big reason, one of the biggest reasons why we decided to do this is we believe in our relationship so wholeheartedly. And we've been through, like, we've made a lot of mistakes in past relationships, like anyone has. And through the process of making those mistakes, we've learned some key lessons that have really equipped us to create and maintain a thriving relationship. And that's why we're here, to share those tools with you. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Now, a little bit about me individually. I've been a coach since 2016, where I started my career as a personal trainer. And I loved the ability to help someone transform their health. I was so passionate about it. I was really good at it. But for a long time, I felt like something was missing. There was like a missing piece to transformation when it came to my personal training business. So in 2018, I hired my first NLP coach to help me work through the pain from my really destructive divorce, because I realized that I didn't know how to really be myself in my relationship. I was constantly acting through the lens of how I thought and wanted my partner, how I thought my partner wanted me to show up. And my NLP coach taught me how to prioritize myself. And she taught me how to really get to know me and learn to love me unconditionally. And it's so funny because as I did the work within myself and I learned how to empower myself and stand in my sovereignty, my partner magically appeared.
Yeah.
Even though she was always there.
I was always there, but obviously
right?
Context changed.
That's right.
Yes.
And so I was so impacted by the work, I decided to dive deep into this. I became a master NLP coach myself. And now my entire business is centered around helping men embody their masculine essence so they too can show up powerfully and have incredible sex. And that's my story.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit about my story, kind of same, but different in the sense that my past relationships, I used to jump from relationship to relationship, kind of like from one toxic frying pan to another. And it was like I was always trying to run away from this problem, which was that I was always giving so much into my relationships, giving all of myself to the point where I wasn't taking care of myself, where I wasn't putting my needs first, where I was overstepping my own boundaries. And what would happen is that I would leave my relationships like jaded, resentful, and angry at my partners because I always felt like I was like their mother, or I was, that nag who always needed them to like step up, but they never really met me where I was at. And I felt a lot of frustration in my relationships because I kind of went through the ringer. Like I went through abusive relationships, cheating, substance abuse. Like I just was like, well, I'll just tolerate all of it. And it wasn't until I really started doing my work in NLP as a coach myself, looking at myself and going, well, I'm the common denominator of every relationship I've been in. So what does that have to do with me? And in addressing my own stuff and in putting myself first, And in defining my own worth, it became obvious that, you know, the standard was that if I was going to be in a relationship, it had to look a certain way. And when I did that work, again, you showed up, you were already there, but it was that we were able to recognize the magnificence of what we could have, because we were no longer distracting ourselves with the things that obviously were not worth our time. So really, really powerful that we kind of went through a very similar journey, but in our own way.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's an interesting thing that you're just pointing out there, because I think it's really easy, especially in relationships, to constantly just look at what the other person is doing or
Right.
who they're being, right? And what I'm hearing you both say is that at some point it was sort of stopping and going, okay, what does this have to do with me? What do I need to ask myself? And what's the work, right, that we need to do around it for ourselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was the point that changed everything for us. So it was really, it was transformational for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why are you here? So you might be single, looking to equip yourself with the tools for when you and your significant other start dating.
You're in a relationship that isn't quite working and you're not really sure what to do.
Yeah. Or perhaps you are in a relationship already and you're looking for ways to deepen your connection and intimacy.
So our intention today is to provide you with the awareness and clarity on how you can live a life full of abundance and love in the context of your relationships. This is so important to us. This is our mission, is to help couples to live and love abundantly.
That's right.
But what does that actually mean?
That reminds me of a story. Why doesn't she want to have sex with me? Sam pondered. Sam and Jamie were at the cottage, and they were attempting to build this magnificent fire. And they hoped that, you know, a weekend away would rekindle the flame that once was. Because unfortunately, their sex life had taken a turn since Jamie started a new job, and she was in this constant state of exhaustion. After a few weeks of just bickering back and forth, they decided to go up to the cottage so they could be around nature, spend some time by the lake, hoping that it would give them the reset that they craved.
So Sam started preparing the fire pit, and Jamie asked if she could help.
Yeah.
But Sam reassured her he'll take care of it, that she could just sit back and relax.
You see, because Sam loved providing for Jamie, and he secretly hoped that she would take it easy on herself, so she would be in a better mood for sex later.
What do you mean relax? I hate when you tell me to relax, she said.
Feeling frustrated, Jamie sat down next to Sam and started building the fire with him. You see, Sam wants to insist that he's got this and that he can take care of it, but he hesitates because he decides to keep his mouth shut, because if this turns to another fight, it's just not worth it. So he changes the subject and offers to go get some wood.
And Jamie calls out, she says, please remember to get the matches.
Sam hopes that when he returns, that she'll have forgotten the comment about relaxing. He can never really tell why she's so upset. And when he returns, he notices that she's completely taken over.
Because Jamie sees Sam come back with wet wood. She's like, Sam, that wood won't light. You need to go get the dry wood from the shelter.
Sam insists that it'll work. He even makes a joke that they have gasoline and that they can use that to light the fire. And Jamie does not find that funny.
She does not laugh. No. Sam, can you please take this seriously for once? Okay? Do I have to go do it myself?
Yeah, he ignores her and just goes back to the fire.
Did you even bring the matches? She can tell that he forgot again. And like a total nag, she storms off to go get the matches herself.
It feels like no matter what Sam does, it's never enough for Jamie. Why does she always push me away?
And she feels like he never listens to her and she has to do everything herself. Why can't it be like it used to be? Why can't it be fun again? So we have a question for you. And if you are with your significant other in this moment, we ask that you answer this in your mind silently to yourself. Okay, do not answer this out loud. If you were single right now, would you choose to date your partner? Now, let that be a reflection of what you're feeling right now. This is only a snapshot in time. It's not about what's good or bad or right or wrong. It's simply about acknowledging the feelings that are there for you. And if you're on this call, you're clearly here because you want to do something about those feelings. So we're going to help to guide you. It's our intention to guide you to live that abundant life that you so desperately deserve.
That's right. And again, what does living and loving abundantly actually mean? So to us, it means to live a life where you are happy, healthy, wealthy, where you live every day in complete personal freedom. Because let's be honest, what will your life look like when you live every day completely unhindered by the fears and insecurities that have been keeping you stuck?
Yes.
Right? Imagine living a life where you can shine in full acceptance of who you are. Like, what a gift.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And to us, it means to experience the ease, beauty, and flow that surrounds you in any given moment.
That's right. So listen, because we're going to ask you to find out where you fit in these 4 relationship archetypes. So you're going to want to take down some notes, either physically or mentally. All right. So these are the 4 flames. All right. We have the Wick, the Dwindling Flame, the Flickering Flame, and the Fire. And just notice which of these statements resonates with you. So, will I ever meet my match?
Mm-hmm. I feel this person is the one. Again.
Why can't it be like it used to be?
And then lastly, can it get any better than this?
Okay, so this is our signature model.
Yeah.
And this shows you how individuals and couples progress from a single flame into a full-blown fire. Now, the key to that transition is called the ignition phase. Yeah. But we're going to give you more on that later, so stay tuned.
I wanted to just say something for a second, like
yes.
because I'm thinking about my own relationship as you're walking through this, right? So my partner and I have been together for 26 years. Cool. And a couple of things, because when you're talking about that metaphor, I'm going, wow, I can totally, over those 26 years, totally recognize those patterns in our relationship at times, right?
Wow.
And so just the miscommunication that happens, and like what's happening in behind what's being communicated to one another that wasn't communicated, right? And then I'm looking at this model that you're pointing out here, and I'm going, okay, so where are we right now? And especially since, you know, my workload hasn't changed that much in terms of where we're at with social isolation. My husband's a firefighter, ironically. And he, you know, it's interesting because where we're at right now in terms of our relationship, and needing to spend more time, right? So I'm really interested to hear more about what you mean about this ignition phase. So
cool.
Oh,
so thank
amazing.
you for that. There's all kinds of light bulbs going off.
Amazing.
Yeah. We'll be getting to that in detail in a bit. And now let's talk about the different archetypes.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing, Kelly.
Thank you.
So first we have the Wick. So this is the person that jokes that they're forever alone. They may have a trail of failed relationships or very few. And when their friends ask them why they don't start dating, they just jokingly say that there are no good men or women out there. When in reality, behind their tough wall of independence, they feel resentful of their situation and they're terrified of ending up alone.
Yeah. So this person needs to learn how to light their own fire.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about when this person learns how to fill their own cup, accept themselves, be okay with the fact that they're single. It doesn't mean that they're broken or defective or that something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
That then they'll be in a vibration that would naturally attract the ideal partner that they're looking for.
That's right. Which is exactly what happened to us.
Yes.
I was saying to you earlier, Amanda, that I was talking with someone recently who's single and finding it really challenging right now because she specifically wants a relationship.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing you say is, well, you tell me, what would your recommendation be to her in terms of wanting to, like, being in this Wick stage right now?
Totally. So yeah, there is no better time than the present, than right now, to do the self-work and the soul work on yourself. And that it's kind of like, I imagine like a caterpillar going into a cocoon. It's like there needs to be this like time inwards to be able to transform and be able to fly like that butterfly wants to. But if we are expecting someone to like pull apart that cocoon for us and just hand us what, like, you know, oh, here you go, now you can fly. The actual wings of the butterfly haven't built. They can't fly, even if you undo that cocoon for the butterfly. So this is a time to spend going inwards, even if it is, you know, not easy and it's a little bit more, you're like, well, I guess I have to do the work now. There's no running away from it. I can't sweep this under the rug any longer. This is the best time to focus on yourself, because at the end of all this, you're going to be able to fly like that butterfly.
Amazing. I love that.
You're brilliant.
Thanks, babe. All right. Next, we have the Dwindling Flame. And the Dwindling Flame is similar to the Wick. However, the difference is that this person jumps from relationship to relationship instead of just staying single. So each new potential partner is kind of like that dopamine cocktail. It starts out hard, fast, strong, and then fizzles out, and there's like a relationship hangover where this person says, I'm never going to lose myself in a relationship again. I swear to God, this is the last time. Only to find out that they're dating the same asshole. And this one stings a bit because this one hits close to home. This happened to me over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. And so what this person needs is similar to the Wick. This person needs to learn how valuable their commitment actually is. And it's incredibly important. So if you're taking notes, write this one down. It's incredibly important that they learn how to define their worth from within, independent of their partner's approval.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is exactly what happened to us.
Surprise.
And I just want to pause there for a second because I resonate with that one too. Like that was me pre-Steve, but easily could have, like my marriage now, we've been together, we've been married, it'll be 11 years this summer, so probably like 14, 15 years. But that easily could have happened to that relationship. But inside of that relationship, we both decided to do the work.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So you can decide to do the work inside of, like, if you recognize that that's a pattern that you're in, but this is a partner that's like, at some level, this person's a keeper and so am I, but defining that worth and doing the work from there, I think is really important for people who are in that
so true
space right now.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a commitment to do the work myself. It's a commitment to honor her as she does the work herself. And then together we do the work on the entity that is our relationship.
Yes.
Right. And it's a commitment to all of that. Right?
Exactly.
So next we have the Flickering Flame. This one is really interesting because this is the couple who seem to have something special, right? They love each other. They both feel that this could be it. Unfortunately, they don't communicate very well. They often bicker over little things, and they tend to be very uncomfortable when expressing themselves. They want to make it work, but they have no idea how.
So this couple needs to redefine the foundation of their relationship.
Yeah.
Imagine like a candle that is burning and burning and burning. Eventually, it's going to burn out. There needs to be a new foundation to allow for a bigger fire to thrive. So they must learn how to be honest with themselves and with their partners about how they're feeling, because their aim is to really hear what their partner is saying when there's conflict that arises without taking it so personal or getting so defensive about it. So it's about helping them move through that conflict more effectively.
And believe it or not,
it's exactly what happened to us.
That's right. Now, the key to taking this flame and turning it to a full-blown fire is what we're calling the ignition phase. And my friends, when you get to this point, everything changes. Because once you've begun mastering this key piece, you and your partner have set yourselves up with what most couples are missing. And bear with us because we are going to share what that difference maker is.
Yes.
Okay. And this is what we all want, right? We all want that relationship where you trust each other wholeheartedly, where you have incredible and amazing sex with your partner, where you can easily move through the tough times with confidence, knowing that this isn't going to put out your fire.
Mm-hmm. We all want that partner who we know is committed to keeping our flame alive, right? Now, is this relationship perfect?
No, of course
No, because no relationship is perfect.
That's right.
The rain is still going to come in.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that this couple knows that they're in this relationship. They're 100% committed. There is zero doubt that they're making this relationship last.
That's right. Because here's the truth. If you have even 1% doubt, then that 1% has the potential to completely take you out. Like, I don't want you to be 99% committed to us.
No, I'll try my best not to cheat on you.
Yeah, that's not cool. Right? Like, you're either all in or you're not.
Yeah.
All in trust, all in sex, all in even during conflict, even during the tough times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We often say, like, you can't be like a little bit pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
you either are or you aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're either in or you're not.
Right. There's no, no turning back.
Yeah, exactly.
How quickly does that 1% grow to 5%? And then it's like, that's the complacency, right? It starts as complacency at 1% and then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to get the dog is barking over here for just 1 second. Just
Cool.
1 moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So raise your hand if you know which archetype resonates with your current situation. Cool. And keep your hand raised if you're exactly where you want to be. Beautiful. I love that.
There's always room for improvement, right?
Of course there is, no matter what there is. And especially in this world of personal development, right? We always know we can better our best, right? No worries.
Oh, thank you.
Addicted to it.
Now, notice how, actually, do you want to talk about this? I love the way you talk about this.
Yeah. So let's notice how these first 3 archetypes are lower in satisfaction and fulfillment. There's a massive gap between the flickering flame and the fire. And why is that?
Well, first, these couples have passed through the ignition phase. But after passing through the ignition phase, they've put into practice the 6 necessities to build and maintain their fire. And that's what we're going to share with you right now.
All right. So we have the fire starter, the game plan, the kindling, the heat, the airflow, and the gathering. So let's start with talking about the fire starter, which is also known as sovereignty. And this is the ability to rule, govern, and maintain your fire independent of others. Okay. It's also your ability to hold on to your values without sacrificing yourself or your relationship in the process. Because it should not come at the cost of your relationship to have your needs met. It should not come at the cost of you to have your relationship needs met. Chances are your relationship is a need that you have. So it's about finding a way to have sovereignty and be able to hold true to your values in both contexts. And this may be going so far as saying having 100% responsibility, radical responsibility for all of your choices, all of your beliefs, all of your thoughts, all of your outcomes. It's taking complete responsibility for yourself and for your contribution and participation in your life.
Yeah, I kind of like the metaphor. It's like you're taking responsibility for ensuring that the fire within you stays lit.
Yes.
Versus me trying to take from your fire to keep mine lit.
Right. Exactly.
So next we have the game plan or intention. So this is how you get clear about the foundations of the fire that you're building and how you plan to keep your flame alive. Because keeping your flame alive is not something that happens by accident. It happens very intentionally and deliberately, right? So this is your ability to clarify where your relationship is going and with what purpose. So you wouldn't throw a bunch of logs together, light a match, throw it in, and just hope that a fire would start.
Right.
Right? Just like you wouldn't take a trip to an unknown destination without a map. You need a game plan. You need to know where you're going. You need to know with who and why you're going there in the first place.
That's right. All right. So we talked about sovereignty, which is the fire starter.
Yeah.
We talked about the game plan, which is intention.
Yeah.
Now we want to talk about the kindling, which is intimacy. So if you have a fire that's burning, you got to continuously add to it.
That's right.
Right? So this is what you're continuously adding to your foundation so that your fire feels supported. It's your ability to hold space with each other so that you feel seen, heard, appreciated, and understood. And we often hear from, the brilliant Kelly Oswin, into me you see, right? It's our ability to really see all of each other, seeing all of your partner, and being able to hold space for that. And when we are talking about intimacy, a lot of times there's this assumption that it's purely about sex. It's like, oh, are you intimate with your partner?
Yeah.
We think that means, am I having, sex with my partner? The reality is that intimacy is so much more than that. And that when you've learned how to master intimacy, it naturally translates into the bedroom, because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
That's right.
Right.
I'm curious, in terms of the kindling stage, is this where you would consider like where values like align in terms of relationship? Because I think about the kindling stage, when you talk about it as foundation, is that part of the kindling?
Certainly, like there's definitely looking at values, and when we talk about, let's say, like the fire starter, it's like defining, and the game plan, it's like defining what those values are individually and then as the couple as well. So it can be a vehicle to get to intimacy by spending time together and going like, what do we value, and how can being able to see into that and being able to go, wow, I had no idea that you valued these things so much. Now that I see that, I understand you so much better.
That's right.
Like that's a beautiful opportunity to build that appreciation and create that container of safety with each other.
Right. Oh, that makes sense.
Because like with intimacy, ultimately it's like, it's about becoming one with, right? Like I can be intimate with nature, and all I'm focused on is just being with nature in that moment. And I'm just seeing nature in all its magnificent glory, right? And same thing with our partner. Like I need to intentionally show all of myself to you so you can see into me. But I need to also do the internal work that comes with sovereignty to accept all of myself. Because if there are parts of myself that I reject, that I'm ashamed of, then I'm going to hold myself back in the way I show up intimately with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're not going to show other people what you can't accept about yourself.
Exactly.
Which then you're in like negating a part, you are negating the whole. Right? You're rejecting the whole in that respect. So intimacy is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who are looking to courageously feel through their heart and really experience true depth of connection.
Yeah. And with all these necessities, they all weave into one another.
Yes.
Right? Like I can't be intimate with you unless I intend and intentionally do the work to be sovereign.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. They're all key pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so important.
Right.
Like super important. Yeah.
Yes.
So next we have the heat, or as we like to call it, the spice. So this is the spark that keeps the fire blazing. This is where desire is cultivated, play is embraced, and passion is celebrated.
Yeah.
This is where you get to have fun with your partner, right? Fun adventures, late night dinners, wild and playful sex.
Yeah.
Like spice in the relationship keeps the spark alive.
Yeah. I like to think of this as like when you have like a plate of like sweet potato fries and there's like that chipotle aioli that's like a little bit spicy, but it's just not the same without the chipotle aioli.
Right.
Like you need to have it.
That's right.
It's like, boom, a little extra.
I love that.
All right. So next we have the airflow. Now, when you think about, building a fire and getting that flame to grow, what we think about often is like fanning that flame. Like we're like trying to put air into this fire. Yeah. So, your relationship is no different. This is the inspiration that your fire, that your relationship needs to breathe so that it can grow. Okay. This is your shared commitment to grow together and honor whatever is necessary to expand. When there isn't enough airflow, the fire feels smothered and resentment builds. So in other words, you're either growing together or you're growing apart. And this is about allowing that to be whatever is true for you and your relationship. It's going to look different relationship to relationship because different relationships require different types of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, because I think there's the sort of the slippery slope of the relationship comparison game.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
very true. Well said.
And doing the judgments of our own relationships based on what we think we see of other relationships.
Yeah. And falling into I guess the trap of like seeing very conventional relationship models and thinking like, if I don't do it this way, then I've somehow not done it right. When the reality is that, you know, I have, I heard just the other day, a friend of mine was like, maybe I'll have like a separate bedroom from my partner and we'll just still live together, but we'll just have our own bedrooms. I'm like, why not? Like, why not have those options? Why do we have to do things the way that we think they're supposed to be? Yeah. So it's going to look different for everyone.
Yeah. Because you get to create your perfect relationship with your partner.
Yeah. You're creating your fire.
That's right.
So you get to decide.
Well said.
Brilliant.
So I love talking about this one. This is the gathering, also known as harmony. So now, having accomplished building a warm and welcoming fire, you naturally feel proud to stand beside it.
Yes.
When all other necessary needs are met, your relationship aligns with harmony. And my friends, when there's harmony in your relationship, then it's actually easy to be around your partner. What a concept.
Wow.
Right? Like, your relationship feels warm, it feels welcoming, it feels safe. It feels like a place that you actually want to gather around, a home that you're proud to be a part of, and a fire that you'll gladly invite your loved ones to gather around and join.
Yes.
But it's really important to note that harmony only happens when all other 5 necessities are met. Mm-hmm. It's like this wonderful byproduct that just happens naturally, but it only happens when all other 5 necessary needs are met.
That's right. That's right.
Now, a question is why do flames fizzle or burn out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's talk about that. Well, given our own personal experience and what we see with our students, is that a huge one is that they don't make the time to be intimate. And we're talking like, you know, intimate at a general level and then intimate like physically, sexually. There's this assumption. There's the assumption that the partner is always going to be there. We've been together for this many years. We've already been doing this for this long. You know, we've kind of set our fire. Now we're going to forget it. And other things take precedent. The kids take precedent. Work takes precedent. That new project at home takes precedent. And sex stops becoming a priority.
That's right. Another reason why flames fizzle is neither partner feels heard or respected with each other, right? Where one person is fed up asking over and over again for their needs to be met. The other feels that no matter what they do, it's never good enough. Kind of similar to Jamie and Sam.
Yeah, interesting. And they tiptoe on eggshells. They walk around, they tiptoe around the truth because partners fail to express their honest opinions and feelings. They're afraid that that simple observation will lead to that full-blown fight. So they feel it's easier to just avoid the conflict instead, to just brush it under the rug and not look at it, which doesn't really work out well long-term.
But one of the biggest reasons why flames fizzle is that a lot of people in relationships rely on their partner in an unhealthy way, where they need their partner in order to be happy, where they're constantly seeking their partner to validate them. And who can agree that when your partner is constantly seeking your validation, you eventually burn out?
Yeah.
Right? That's exhausting.
Not interested. That's
now,
right.
Remember earlier, we've been talking about this ignition phase, right? The key to turning the flame to the full-blown fire. Are you guys ready to hear what it is? Hey, me. The ignition phase is the first necessity that we shared with you guys at the beginning. It's the fire starter.
Yes,
it's sovereignty, right? Rebuild the most important relationship so it can last. What does that mean?
Well, I think that there can be possibly the assumption that when we have a relationship that's really important to us, we have the assumption that that relationship is the most important thing in our lives. The reality is, we invite you to really consider whether that most important relationship is with yourself. And when you work on that relationship, when you rebuild that relationship with yourself, and especially when your partner does the same, you are both meeting at a place of two sovereign beings. And that fire is going to be two full-blown fires, like roaring on their own. Think of how much more powerful that is than one trying to take from the other. Yeah, which is like just the coolest. I remember one of the things that I often say to you is, I'll take care of me for you and you take care of you for me. That's our assumption with each other.
So
I remember when Laura and I started working together early on, and I can't remember in the context that it came up, but I used to always say to Laura, the movie Jerry Maguire, like the line in that movie that used to drive me crazy is when Renee Zellweger says, "You complete me." And I'm like, yeah.
We have a huge problem with that too.
Yeah, I just wrote a post on why those things frustrate me. I just wrote it like yesterday and posted it.
Yeah, I saw that, Roberto. Kelly, it was when we were training the circles.
Of relationships.
Looking for the sacred geometry circles. And I have to say too, like, I think it's easy to look at the two of you, even like witnessing you on this call, the way that you hold space for each other, the way that you like look at each other. And like, I hope it's okay, but as people that work with you and coach you, yes, in business, but like, obviously we know in our worlds, we're also dealing with our old stuff and with roadblocks. We've also witnessed you work through your stuff.
Yes.
Like, we've worked with you as you work through it. So you really do model that. Like, it's not like it's just easy for you guys. So of course you have an amazing relationship and great sex, because like, obviously, like, you have it easier than the rest of us. Like, no, like, Roberto, you're a dad. Amanda, you're managing stepmom. You're both entrepreneurs. You're working stuff out. You have your own histories and stuff that you deal with. So what do you say to the person that looks at this and says, well, like, this all sounds great, but they think that their situation is different? Because I know as coaches, we all see that. Like, it's, you know, I have my kids and like the stress, or my partner works shift. Like, do they still need to, I think it's about priorities, but how do they deal with the issues that come up when they're in that space?
Such a good question. So what do I say to the person that thinks their situation is different? Can I just be like really blunt and honest? Because I had this conversation with someone very close to me. Absolutely. And you know what? Your situation might be different. Too bad. Like, how are you, like, are you going to let that stop you? And what to do is, it's your obligation to develop some sovereign practices where you can consistently fill your cup, because that does not happen by accident. It happens very intentionally, right? Like, for me, like, I have a very, like, my morning is sacred. Like, Amanda knows, when I wake up in the morning, like, this is Roberto's time.
Yes.
And I sit, I meditate, I journal, I do everything I need to do to ensure that when my son wakes up or when Amanda needs something, I can actually show up from a full cup. And I show up so much more profoundly when I prioritize myself. But I've made sure that those daily practices are in place every single day. And for the person's like, oh man, I don't know where to start, is I would ask them, okay, like, start writing a list of things that you have done or can do that fill you with life, that fill you with joy, where you feel so fulfilled. Like, write that list and commit to practicing that every single day. It doesn't have to be everything, but practice prioritizing yourself every single day. And if you're in a relationship, make it clear with your partner, hey, on these times, on these days, I'm prioritizing me, not because I want to take away from our relationship, but I need to fill my cup because I love you so much and I love me so much that I know we need this. We need me to show up, and then encourage them to do the same, because the fear in that, for the couple that is really emotionally fused, the fear in you filling your own cup is, oh no, you're taking away from me, or you're taking away from us.
From my cup.
Exactly, right? And there's going to be a process. Like, I remember about a year and a half ago, Amanda was like really stepping into sovereignty and really differentiating herself from our relationship. And I'm going to be real, guys, that scared the shit out of me, right? Like, all of my insecurities, all my fear of being abandoned came up to the surface. And you know what the gift in her doing that was? Is it pushed me to start to take responsibility over my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like projecting it onto her. I'm watching my powerful partner stand in her power, and I have to do everything in my power to not allow my fear to take away from her power. Because I'll be honest, to attempt to take away. Yeah, because I can't take it away unless, right?
Unless I give it.
That's right. And that was terrifying, but it was also so liberating. Her stepping into her power, as scary as it was one of the greatest gifts that she could have ever given me. But I also intentionally choose to see it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
I love that. Thank you.
I want to speak to this too
Sure,
as well.
sure.
And the thing too is that like sometimes there's the couple where like one person is starting to step into sovereignty and they're afraid that they're like, if I do this, then I'm going to lose this partnership because I'm going to progress and they're going to just like grow away from me. Like, you know, to be perfectly blunt, it's like, that's a risk that's worth taking. And not that it's worth, you know, abandoning your partner, but it's that by you trying to like save them from whatever experience you think you're trying to save them from, you're not allowing them the opportunity to recognize how powerful they are. And that when you give them that gift by being like, I'm already powerful, I'm already whole, I see you as already powerful and whole. You may not see that, but I do. And I'm trusting you to take that jump for yourself and recognize that for yourself. And in everything we've been talking about, like right now we're sitting here on this call and it's like, you know, it's like, oh, Amanda and Roberto, but like, we've been through the ringer. Like we went through all the work. We continue to do the work with people who we trust, like yourselves, to help us and guide us. So it's that you don't have to do this work alone. In fact, it's like, I would invite you to not do it alone. You don't have to. You're in a human experience where, you know, you don't get brownie points for sitting on top of a mountain and meditating alone. And you're like, oh, I did it. Like there's no award for that. You can have help from your community. Like this is what we are as tribal collective creatures, is that we want support. So you can still receive support and yet still stand in your sovereignty. And that is a process and a practice that often requires some guidance if you've never done it before.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And like, I'll just tag onto that. And your partner might surprise you, by the way.
Yes.
Like your partner, yes, it's worth the risk, and they might surprise you. And we all know, like, it's a whole separate masterclass on like the energetics of that when you change and the other person changing. But yeah, like you have to leave space for your partner to surprise you. You never know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly.
And the only standard, we say this to our students all the time, the only standard in relationship is someone who sees you and celebrates you stepping into your power, even if it scares them.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the only standard. Anything beneath that does not meet the standard.
No,
right?
Exactly.
Now, here's what happens in relationships when they don't have sovereignty.
Yeah. So little to no sex or intimacy.
That's right.
Okay. So we see this a lot where a lot of couples say, I'm not having sex anymore. Like we haven't had sex in a year. Or like the inverse would be that the only way that you are able to move through conflict is through sex. You're like, this is the only thing holding this relationship together. Red flag.
That's right. These couples tend to argue over the same thing over and over again with seemingly no resolution.
Yeah, that thing that's been swept under the rug is being brought up again and again and again. It's never actually ever handled, resolved, or dealt with.
That's right.
There is difficulty setting boundaries or saying no. And often with boundaries as well, it's not just about setting the boundary, it's also about enforcing the boundary.
Yes.
So it's the couple or the person that caves on their own boundary every time that it's enforced.
Yeah. They rarely feel heard or respected, which leads to this one.
Yeah. Feeling unsafe to express yourself. Maybe you can share a little bit about how this shows up for couples as well.
Yeah, because when we say unsafe, we're not talking about like physical unsafety. We're talking about like if I share something with you vulnerably, right, where this is on my heart, but I don't feel that you actually heard me, or I even feel respected in my vulnerability. That teaches me that my expression, the gift that is my expression, is unsafe with you.
Yeah.
And then the next time there's something on my heart that I want to share with you, I'm way less likely going to share it, because the last time I did it, you freaked out because it brought up whatever insecurity that came up. So how could I even attempt to trust my expression with you if it's not respected or cherished?
Right? Yeah.
And that takes practice. And that's ultimately intimacy, is practicing that intimacy.
I think about a story of like, you know, this teacher asks his students, like, how do you know if you enter a restaurant that a couple has been together a long time? And they say, well, it's not the couple that's, you know, chatting each other's ears off. It's the couple that's sitting there in silence. And he said, well, is it because they have nothing more to say to each other? And the students say, no, actually, it's because they've already said everything they need to say and they don't feel they'll be heard. So it's like that feeling of safety in expressing yourself and being able to actually say what you feel and is on your heart. And leading to the last one, which is codependency. So codependency, we might have this filter of what that looks like. And we just want to help you expand what that could mean. There's this concept called emotional fusion.
Yeah.
And the way that emotional fusion shows up is that there's a difficulty separating where your emotions start and your partner's end. So example, you come home from a really, really good day. You've had an awesome day at let's say, at work or with your friend, and you come home and you're so excited to share your day with your partner. And you're like, I had the best day ever. And your partner is all in this pissed off mood. And suddenly you're like, well, what's the problem you have with me? What's going on? Why are we in a fight now? And like, I now enter this, right. I fuse into this soup of like, you know, whatever resentment is here. Right. And there's no ability to just go, oh, you're having a day. I still feel great. Cool. Let me know if you need anything with that. I'm gonna go be great over here. Like there's no separation of those emotions. So codependency shows up in other ways as well. It's not just about like, I need you to like pay for my things, or it's not just about that. It's so much more.
Yeah. And it's typically unconscious. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm like, listening to like the people watching this and knowing the community that we're presenting this in, and all of the people who are highly sensitive and intuitive and empathic. Mm-hmm. But you are too. And you can disconnect from that, right? Like this is not like, we're not at the effect of empathy or intuition. You can be an empath and still not do emotional fusion and codependency, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if you are using empathy as your reason for being in the situation, then there's an opportunity to check what that's really about. Because it is my belief that our energy is our own sacred, sovereign experience, and that we only can give or allow others to take or, vampire or leech off of us if we allow them into that, if we give that permission away. So, empathy, you can still have empathy for your partner and be sovereign. You can still be like, wow,
that's right.
You're going through a day right now. I'm feeling like my cup is full. Would you like me to hold space for you while you're experiencing that? Yeah. And you can work through that and I'll be right here. Like you can still have compassion and empathy for your partner. It's when that does not happen and you suddenly are at the mercy of the effect of your partner's experiences.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And boundary setting is something we do like with our words, and also something we do with our energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely.
Well
said. Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes. All righty.
So question, what is more valuable to you than your relationship with your significant other? Mm-hmm. Because here's the truth. What will it cost you to not invest the time, money, and energy into your relationships? And how committed are you to experiencing that passionate, thriving relationship that we all want?
Yeah, that's right. And let's just talk a quick minute here about commitment, because we kind of mentioned it's like you don't tell someone that you're like 99% committed to them in the relationship. It's you are either in or you're not. Intention is not enough to create that change. Commitment is how you create change. It's that intention backed by action. And that often requires time, energy, and money. And so when it comes to relationships, like there's always this two choice dilemma. We think that there is, in a perfect world, we're like, there's a situation I'm in right now. And then there is the solution. And the situation I'm in right now is really anxious, but the solution is going to be blissful, wonderful, and I won't have to worry about anything from that point. This is a fallacy. This is an illusion. Okay. You're either going to be in the anxiety that you're in right now, or you're going to go through the anxiety of change. But one is worth it. One is worth going through that anxiety. But if you are with this assumption that in my two choice dilemma, this other option is going to float in from the clouds and like release me from this problem, that's ignoring it. That's avoidance. That's denial. Okay. So it's acknowledging that there's going to always be that conflict. Relationships are not void of conflict. We still have conflict. All the time we have conflict. We know how to move through it effectively.
That's right. And the same way that you can't just intend to create a fire with sheer will, right? You can't Jedi mind trick and create a fire. Physical effort is needed, right? And it's not a commitment if you're just interested. And it's really important that we emphasize this. It's okay to be interested, right? It's okay to be interested in the things that you want. Yeah. But just recognize that being interested and commitment are two very different things. One is an idea, it's in your head. The other one is backed by action.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're inviting you guys to ensure that if you say you want the amazing, thriving relationship you say you want, commit to claiming that, commit to putting in the work within yourself, commit to uncovering what you've been afraid to face within yourself, because behind your greatest fears are your greatest gifts.
Yes.
And that reminds me of a story.
Ooh. Jamie returns to the fire with the matches, wondering, will this time be any different?
When Sam sees her, he takes her by the waist and holds her. With full presence, he apologizes for not listening, and he takes her suggestion about the dry wood in the shelter.
And Jamie can tell that he means it for real. Like he's not just saying it to end the discussion. She's standing there in disbelief, witnessing her man really emerging for the first time. And she finally feels safe to let her guard down.
So he playfully smiles at her and asks that she sits down while he gets her a glass of wine. Returning with wine in hand, Sam states his intentions clearly. Jamie, I'm going to make this fire for you. I'm going to prepare you a glorious dinner, and you're just going to sit and take in the beauty of this incredible moment. And with full permission, I want you to share as much or as little as you'd like with me, because I know how you've been feeling, and I know how hard it's been for you to relax. And it's so important to me that you know it's okay for you to open up to me, because now I'm taking this seriously.
Oh, okay. Jamie realizes how much she's been trying to control Sam. And that she's really never seen him step up like this before. She finally feels seen and heard, and taking a deep breath, she surrenders to his leadership. And she recognizes that in allowing herself to follow his lead, it was never really about the petty problems. It was never really about those things. They all just allow to melt away.
As Sam prepares the fire, Jamie opens up about what she's been feeling. And then she eventually asks Sam what's on his heart, unsure if he's just going to make another joke and deflect her attempt to be intimate with him.
But to both their surprise, Sam opens up to Jamie from a place of sovereignty, and he doesn't blame her anymore for his insecurities. And he actually takes pride in seeing this woman in a state of pleasure. It feels like they're actually growing together instead of apart. There's like this newfound sense of harmony between them or something.
That's right. And once the fire is built, they cuddle up and enjoy the warmth of this beautiful flame. Maybe it's the wine, maybe it's the fresh air, but they're both feeling just a little bit friskier than usual, feeling that spark again. Sam and Jamie share a passionate night under the stars, knowing that they're going to make it. Thank you for joining us.
I think I just fell in love with Sam and Jamie.
No, they're amazing.
They are amazing.
They can make it. That's
Yes.
right. Yes.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us in this webinar. To everyone who joined and anyone who watches the replay. Our question is now, do you have any questions? Is there anything you learned? Anything we need to know? And a quick just shout out to SlideGo, who we like use their slides and we have to give them credit. So thank you, SlideGo. Yeah.
and a shout out to Avalon for being the badass coaches that you are, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here doing this work in the way that we're doing it.
That's right.
Thank you guys.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. What a pleasure.
Yeah,
what a journey to witness.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Beautiful.
And this, like, I have 200 questions myself. This was amazing. So thank you. We'll see if any questions pop up. I know there's a couple that come through sometimes just to panelists that we see. So we'll read out questions that we've got, but I have a few questions. Number one, so you have this work around these archetypes, and then it was 6 steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you like teach? Is it what you coach? How do people, like, if I want to go deeper into this, how do I do that? Like, where do we?
Yeah, good question. So as we were creating this masterclass, we actually created something called our 4-week fire starter program, which is about teaching anyone who's single or in a relationship how to develop those sovereign practices within themselves, because that's the key to the ignition phase.
Yeah.
So basically what we've done is we put all of our efforts into this singular program to move people through this process, because once you've developed those sovereign practices, everything begins to fall into place way more effectively.
Living and loving abundantly. It helps you to do that. Exactly that.
That's right. So that's our main program right now. And then we also teach our one-on-one students as well. We walk them through that similar process.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and how do people get in touch with you for that?
Good question. So the best way to get in touch with us is through email. You can email us at thrive@theconsciouscouple.ca. Or you can find us on our social medias. Instagram is?
Yeah, Amanda Rassam.
And mine is theconscious.coach. Or you can find us on Facebook, Roberto Martinez, Amanda Rassam.
Yeah.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do, just for everybody watching, whether you're live or on a replay, we're going to put those links as well in, I think Kelly's putting them in the chat, and we'll put them in the email that comes out. I know that you both have, groups on Facebook. You do a lot on Instagram. So definitely follow them, join these groups. So there's tons of value that you
yeah. And we recognize too, if like people don't want to necessarily ask a vulnerable question right now, so feel free to message us and ask, and we're happy to answer it there as well. We understand that sometimes there's things that are maybe a little sensitive you don't want to share in a group.
That's right.
Especially if this is going to be on a replay.
Yeah, for sure.
So awesome.
Okay, Kelly.
I missed your social media handles. Can you give those to me again so I can put them in the chat box?
Yes. So mine is my name, Amanda Rassam.
Yeah.
And mine is theconscious.coach.
Okay. Gonna get that in there.
For a couple that's in like significant and I know there's maybe it's just like the work that we do or and stuff, but I know there's people who are like really struggling right now. Like they're going, yeah, like great sex would be great, but right now I just need to know if we're going to stay together. Do you help people who are in that place, like figure out how to just like not be like in a train wreck situation, like not do split up?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Yeah, we've seen, I mean, and every relationship is different. So we've seen a couples like that who are finding that like they can't sweep things under the rug anymore. They can't avoid each other. They can't, go to those old coping patterns. They have to either address this or it's going to address itself. Mm-hmm. So we invite those people to courageously step forward and reach out to us, because those are exactly the people that we're looking to help. And, it could also be the couple that is, not going through, will we make it? Like, are we going to break up right now? But they might be going through, wow, there's a lot that's coming up right now that hasn't come up before. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff surfacing that we never realized was a problem. Yeah. And it's like, let's address that head on. Let's, you know, nip that at the bud so that you don't have to go through it for 10, 15, 20 years of pain.
Yeah. And I think that that's been one of the, like, the opportunities in the climate we're in right now, is that it's really sort of highlighted or shone a light on cracks, right? That could have been ignored before because in the busyness of life. And that the current climate has created, whether it's in, you know, we see it in parental relationships, but we're also seeing it in like intimate relationships, family relationships, but specifically with couples. Like, I think if there's things that have been swept under the rug or not, you know, not looked at head on, that's containing that is just a bigger challenge now. And more people are like, it's starting to the cracks are being exposed.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's kind of three main criteria before we work with any couple. They have to be committed to their personal growth. They have to be committed to supporting their partner's personal growth. And both partners have to be committed to the growth of the relationship. Yeah. Because it's never going to stay the same. Everything is like, one thing that's consistent in life is change. So both partners have to be committed to their personal change, to their partner's change, and to the change and shift of their relationship. Because if one of those are missing, then we could show up as the best coaches on the planet, but it's irrelevant. It won't matter.
Yeah. You have to be ready to play at 100% or more. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I like the part where you're talking about commitment, right? Because it's not like what was it that you said? Like there's a difference between commitment and
being interested.
Being interested, right? Because, you know, it's that idea of, but being interested, I think, is what maintains stuff being swept under the rug.
Yes. Well said.
Right? Like it actually holds the problem in place. It's like, you can also sense like the discomfort of, oh, am I, you know, the willingness to commit. But I think the biggest message from the both of you, and I know in our experience, is that commitment will move you to a place that you couldn't even have imagined.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's like being like, well, yeah, I want to do the work. And that's not enough of just saying it. Like just saying, well, you know, I know I have a problem. I know it's been there for forever. It's like, if you know it and you're not doing it, then you don't know. Right. In the words of the famous Kelly Osmond, to know and not to do is not to know. So if you know this and you're ignoring it, you are in denial and you are perpetuating that problem yourself. You're aware of it and doing nothing about it. So we can appreciate that everyone has their process. We believe that you don't have to go through that pain to make it worth it. You can just make a decision sooner than later.
Yeah. And I think also like giving yourself permission, like if you're somebody who's watching this going, well, like I'm not in pain and I'm like, things are okay. And it's just the situation sucks. Well, it's okay to say I'm choosing to invest in my relationship, to make it more than just okay. We deserve more than okay. There's this like terrible conditioning that is, when we get into a relationship and get married, it's supposed to go downhill. It's supposed to fizzle. Like that being the accepted norm is
not appropriate.
Like gross, right? Like no, not supposed to. Like
the one
when Ernie was on the call, he'd be like on like a full rant right now.
Yes.
Because that's not his experience at all in his relationship with Anna over how many years? Like
103.
How many lifetimes have we been together?
1,000 if we go into past lives, but
yes.
But really like this idea that it's supposed to dwindle, it's supposed to be a flickering flame or you know, embers or whatever. That's that. If you feel like that's unacceptable for you, like there's a totally different story out there. I feel the same way about parenting.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be the way. Like we get to choose our experiences and what we want. So I love that you're both so committed to helping people have these like extraordinary, passionate, ignited relationships.
Yes. Yeah. You often like the one that we often hear that we cannot stand is, you know, it's like happy wife, happy life. And it's like, just be complacent with each other and don't actually address things that you actually feel, because then your partner will be happy and then you can just like tolerate each other until you die together. And I'm like, that's not enough for me in a relationship. Like, that sounds horrible. That sounds like my personal hell. So it's very important, I think, that when we think about like that comparison game we were talking about, it's like, are you even comparing yourself to someone who you want to be like?
Right.
Like comparing yourself to like the standard of like, oh, we're just going to go through a downhill spiral together. Like that to me is just like, we're like, that's just not acceptable.
That's right.
That's just not the standard. Like there has to be another way. And yeah, we believe that the other way is to experience sovereignty, be living and loving abundantly, and that, you know, it only gets better.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Like a fine wine.
Yes.
Amazing. So I think with all that said, the email is thrive@theconsciouscouple.ca. You can find Amanda and Roberto on social media. You've got your Reignite the Fire.
The fire starter program.
That's right.
Fire
Yeah,
starter
4-week fire starter.
Yeah, we only have 4 spots left, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will we'll get that information out to everybody, and thank you both so much. I can't wait. Like, I want to do this again. I want to talk to you each individually about your like wild and worthy and modern man stuff. This is super amazing. So thank you both so much.
Yes.
Really, this was like the perfect way to do Friday.
We're so grateful that we got to be here and experience this with you. So thank you for this platform and for allowing us to spread this mission and this message. It really, truly means everything.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who took the time to show up.
Yes.
Because that shows that you're committed, because you showed up, and that's badass.
Yes.
Yes. Amazing.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you all. Thank you all. Have an amazing day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.